Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. My name is Dirk Keller. This is our special guest, Pat White. Pat's going to be with us for a while this winter. And as always, Earl the Pearl Murphy is here. We got his son Joe Murphy behind the camera and making things happen, making the show come to life every week. Happy New Year to everybody. We're glad you're back with us. We're glad to be back. Pat, looking forward to working with you here on the show.
Nice to be with you. This is a tradition I'm happy to be a part of for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's great. So, well, we haven't had a new show in 2 weeks, and a lot has transpired in those 2 weeks. As most of you know, the Hawkeye football team played in the Insight Bowl game last Friday night. It was about a 9:20 start, I think.
Mm-hmm. It was delayed because of the game in front of it.
Yeah.
Then we missed the kickoff on TV.
Yeah. If you remember, last year we missed almost the entire first quarter.
Yeah.
And so the ESPN network officials said if the game prior to the Iowa Bowl game ran long, they were going to hold kickoff until it was over. So thank goodness that one didn't go into overtime like some of them have gone into since that Hawkeye game. The football game, I think disappointing is probably a word to use.
Well, it certainly was until into the fourth quarter. I mean, It was very disappointing.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get anything going.
Yep. Frustrating. And I think a lot of it, everybody's looking for someone to blame, but the bottom line is I don't think Jamie Vandenberg ever got comfortable under center.
It didn't seem like it.
Why not? I mean,
Oklahoma blitzed the heck out of him. And if they didn't blitz, they showed blitz.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been in the program for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of a
starting
season,
for 3 years.
Certainly played against teams that blitzed us.
Yeah, but there's a trend, wouldn't you agree with Jamie or James or what he wants to call himself? But road games seem to be more of a challenge to him. He doesn't perform as well, in my estimation, on the road as he does at home.
Well, everybody says, of course, playing at home, you're just more comfortable, and the Kinnick crowd is always terrific.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it. Who knows? It seems odd. Statistically, that's certainly been the case. It was a disappointing end to a somewhat disappointing season. I mean, if you look at our record, which ends up at 7-6, and take out Tennessee Tech and Louisiana Monroe, which were decidedly lower-level teams,
Yep.
it's a losing season.
Mm-hmm.
Sure is.
And you worry a little bit about what's going to happen next year.
Well, you've got the loss of longtime defensive coordinator Norm Parker. That's going to have an impact. Also, we've learned since our last show that Rick Kaczynski, not the Unabomber, Rick Kaczynski, the defensive line coach and one of the lead recruiters for the Hawkeye football team, has left for the position at the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And that's, I don't care where you sit, that doesn't go over well when you leave for a conference foe.
Have we heard any place what his salary is going to be? Is he getting a raise?
I've heard he's getting a raise of somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000.
Wow. That's quite a bit.
It is.
It is.
It is. And I think more importantly, I don't know if it was really for the money, but I think from and just reading in between the lines of what I've read, it seems that he viewed the Nebraska job and the University of Nebraska as a greater opportunity for career advancement.
Well, that's certainly the way his press conference sounded when he got over there. I mean, he gave us a real shot. Some of these coaching switches at the end of the year are awkward, to say the least, and I think this one fits in. I mean, reading between the lines of Kirk's release, my conclusion was he wasn't happy at all.
Nor should he be.
With the fact that Kaczynski had been apparently talking to Nebraska 2 weeks before the bowl game, when he had a bunch of young men depending on him to lead him into the bowl game. but a lot of head coaches move. The rules are kind of strange. And so it was a little unusual for university to issue a release saying he was no longer with the program. I mean, that's, I think, what reflected their unhappiness.
Well, when you think about it, I sure don't blame anyone in the athletic department for being unhappy. He leaves literally 2 days before the team is to depart for Arizona for the Insight Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves before the bowl game. He leaves. That was a hole. That is a hole that you put on the team or in the team as they prepare for. I think it's fair to say the biggest game of the year. It's the penultimate game anyway. You leave before the recruiting period is over, and again, he was one of, if not the lead recruiting coaches. He didn't just recruit defensive linemen. He recruited Jake Reddick, the quarterback from Florida. He has a number of high school seniors who have verbally committed to Iowa or who have narrowed their choices down to 2, 3, maybe 4 schools, including Iowa. You run the risk now of some of those recruits backing out of their commitment, and even worse, committing to Nebraska. I don't like that.
Of course, the recruiting side of it, I can at least understand that, in that a lot of the coaching changes have to take place before the recruiting deadline.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see very many waiting until early February if they're going to take a different job, and that's always a bit awkward. And just to hypothesize his perspective here for a moment, well, but let's assume he wanted to go to Nebraska for whatever reason. They had a vacancy. They were on their way to a bowl game, and they ended up facing a dilemma that then we had to face, which was Bo's brother had left.
Right, and he took the defensive line coach
Right.
with him.
Yes.
So they suddenly have a big gap, and you can imagine Bo Pelini coming to Kaczynski and saying, look, I got to get somebody before our bowl game because we've got a hole. Are you with us or not? I don't know. We'll probably never know exactly what happened.
He's a good friend of his. Aren't they friends?
I don't know.
I think so.
That I don't
They
know.
must be. The thing is, if you want to talk about job security, Coach Ferentz is going to be here until the year 2020, unless he decides to go elsewhere. And the likelihood of it becomes less and less each year he's here. Bo Pelini, all it takes, tell you what, if Nebraska has a 7-6 year next year,
Yeah.
I don't think Nebraska fans will stand for it.
Or Osborne.
Yeah, or the athletic director, Tom Osborne.
Yeah.
They've fired coaches at Nebraska with much better records and said we expected more. So we'll see. I mean, Bo Pelini is a bit of a wild man. And
I think he was less so this year. My guess is Osborne had a sit-down, closed-door, we need a little more professional representation on the sidelines.
well, he doesn't dress any better.
No, he doesn't. But he was. The reporters were commenting at the Big Ten meetings in Chicago before the season started that they'd never seen him in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
He was there for his press conference.
I think that's about as far as he goes.
Is it Mike Supes? He has to be the wildest thing I've ever seen on the sideline.
He's pretty wild. Now, I've heard that he is now the co-defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, along with
Brent Venables. Venables is the
that's right.
coordinator.
That's right.
Which is, I mean, if that's certainly
And
been
Venables
rumored.
got moved up to some other title.
Assistant head coach.
Assistant head coach, there it is. So, yeah.
Made more money when you're assistant head coach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
usually,
I think so.
There's a
usually
bump.
it does.
That's to
There's-
keep him happy
there's a
with
movement.
sharing that title.
I think there's a movement around the country to elevate the salaries of assistant coaches. I mean, they don't get widely publicized, but I think if you looked at our coordinator salaries, they're right at or above $200,000
Right.
now.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good money.
That's real good money. Yeah.
Greg Madison at Michigan reportedly is making $100,000, which
Yep.
that's a lot of money. That's a very lot of money.
That's
Well, the whole coach's salary thing is
Yes.
it's
just
yeah.
nuts.
Yes.
it is.
Absolutely ridiculous.
There are some coaching vacancies to fill for Iowa. We still don't have Phil Parker named the defensive coordinator, which we expect will happen. I've read nothing to change my mind about that. I don't know about you guys.
No.
Well, Kirk's reputation always is he's going to elevate people who've been in the program and who he regards as good coaches. I mean, he won't just do it for the sake of doing it. He's never had this decision because at Iowa, both of his coordinators have been here the whole time.
Yeah. Now, on the last show 2 weeks ago, we talked about a name that we had heard as a possibility for defensive line coach to replace Rick Kaczynski, and that name was Brian Ferentz. Now, that rumor has cooled down a bit, but I'll tell you who I heard yesterday. Bill Ennis-Inge.
Yeah, Bill's now at Buffalo
Right.
as the line coach, and he's really well regarded in the training rooms and on the fields. He was a very personable guy. I ran into him, this was a few years ago, doing my volunteer thing over in sports marketing. He was in the arena just to say hello to people. He was passing through, and you could just tell that people were delighted to see him. And I don't know anything about his coaching skills, but
When did he graduate from Iowa?
it's probably been
10, 12?
7 or 8 years,
Okay.
maybe longer.
I
He
think
coached for a while
Yeah.
at UNI.
I think he graduated a little longer than that, but was he recruited by Hayden? Is that possible?
Oh yeah, it's
Kirk's been here 13 since '99, his first season. I wonder if Bill graduated.
he probably
shortly
spent
after
5
that.
years here.
Yeah. He's got a great reputation in the coaching world. He was with the current Notre Dame coach, correct?
Yes.
And did not get asked, where did he come from? Cincinnati? Kelly.
yes.
And Bill was with him and did not get asked to go to Notre Dame.
It was Bobby Diaco,
Bobby Diaco got asked
who
to
just
go.
got named assistant head coach at Notre Dame.
That's right. He just got a big promotion. So, and there's another former Hawkeye player,
Kerry Cooks.
Kerry
at
Cooks,
Notre Dame.
coaching at Notre Dame, who also got
just
a promotion.
got named co-defensive coordinator.
Yeah, how about that? There's that coaching tree again.
Mm-hmm.
So,
LeVar Woods, he's pretty.
Well, he'll get one of the spots. I don't have
Yeah,
any doubt. He's been here 3 years, administrative assistant.
he's a wonderful man.
He's very well thought of.
Yeah.
He's been active in community outreach and community involvement.
yep. And he's young enough to relate to these kids, and he has the NFL experience
Yep.
that I think these kids are interested in.
You know, I think he's got a really big job. And you talk about these kids. These kids got a mind of their own anymore.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Yeah, you know, he didn't used to be that way.
Plus, they've all got Twitters. And
Oh yes,
It's a much more open world than it was just
That's
5
right.
years ago, just 10 years ago.
I'd say 4 years ago.
Yeah. Well, Mikhail McCall, it's now known, is leaving the University of Iowa. The true freshman running back who had a nice first quarter in the first game against whatever
better
they
than
were.
nice. It was great.
Yeah.
That-
Something happened. He
I thought
was.
it was great. We're going to have him for 4 years.
Yeah.
I thought.
He's gone. We don't know where,
We
but
have no idea what happened.
he made that announcement on Facebook, and so that's official.
How about Coker?
Word is that Coker's going to be back. They expect him to be back. We'll see. We don't know.
I wonder what legally.
Everybody wonders.
We may never find out. We know from what's been officially released that it's some violation of the Code of Student Life,
Right.
and that carries with it a disciplinary proceeding. They gather evidence, have hearings, and at the end of it, make a decision what punishment to hand out, and depends some on the level of the violation, some on the violation. He's quoted as saying, I assume accurately at this point, that he wants to come back. Both Kirk and Gary Barter are quoted, and I've heard this from their mouths, saying he was welcome to come back.
Right.
So those all tend to indicate that
The city had nothing to do with it.
No.
Right.
This was a like Pat
at least
said,
at this point.
it wasn't necessarily a legal issue. It wasn't a team conduct issue.
I heard he.
It was school issue.
I don't want to say who told me, but it had something to do with giving out grades. Or, I mean,
Well,
getting-
It's one of the rumors.
There are three rumors out there.
Yep.
One of them has to do with academics. I don't know. But
We'll see.
He's a smart.
Yeah.
smart kid and a tough major and a
Oh.
heck of a runner.
Yeah.
a
That's what we
runner.
missed the most. He would have been a difference maker in that Insight Bowl. Love to have seen him run against Oklahoma.
Well, there were situations. Kansas did a nice job.
Yes, he
Sure.
did.
But my goodness, is he little?
And he goes down with first contact.
Well, yeah.
Pretty much every time.
And-
Coker would knock somebody 2 or 3 more
yeah,
yards.
he goes out of his way to knock somebody down.
Yeah.
He's
Not terribly fast, but boy,
guy-
he's
Sean Green.
Sean Green.
Yeah. He's
Great
not afraid to
stiff
stick
arm.
it. Yeah.
I love.
Yeah, they showed it. Showed him.
Well, the Hawkeyes got a nice verbal commitment yesterday from a 4-star running back named Greg Garman from Erie, Pennsylvania. If that name rings a bell, that's because it's the same hometown as Bob Sanders, Ed Hinkle. I'm forgetting a few others.
Tom Nardo?
Tom Nar. Right.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. He's from Lancaster.
Oh, close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough.
I'm sorry.
This kid had
Walking
40.
distance or something.
Yeah. Greg Garman had offers from 45 different Division I schools and chose Iowa, and specifically in his statement last night, Coach Ferentz. And I think that had to be just what Coach Ferentz wanted to hear, because it's been tough. They also, I think the day after the game or a couple days after, they got a verbal commitment from a junior college quarterback whose name is Cody Sokol. Cody Sokol is a 6'3", 210-pound player who literally grew up in Des Moines, but somewhere in elementary school, his family moved him to Arizona, and he's been going there to Scottsdale Community College, and had his pick between, I think it was Arizona or Arizona State.
Arizona, Cincinnati,
And
one other school.
for whatever reason, he chose to come here, and that's great. He'll be a junior with no opportunity to redshirt.
No, he's got a red shirt opportunity.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he's played 2
Oh,
years.
I'm glad you said that.
He's got 3
I'm
years to
glad
play
you
too,
said
so
that.
they could redshirt him.
Okay. They're also in on another quarterback, high school senior. But the big news is going to come out on Thursday. There is a 4-star linebacker. I think he's from New Jersey. His name is Quanzel Lambert. Big kid. And he has narrowed his choices down to Iowa, Rutgers, and somebody else. And he's going to announce Thursday night where he's going. There are a lot of people that speculated early on that he was coming here. Then, recently, there was speculation that Rutgers had convinced him to stay closer to home. I just heard today that Rutgers may be losing their head coach to Penn State.
Poor Penn State has taken forever. And their performance in the bowl game didn't do Bradley any good if he
that
was
was
in
ugly.
hopes of landing that position.
I just couldn't watch that game after a while.
It was bad.
Brutal.
Well, what we need are defensive linemen.
Yes.
I tend to think we'll be okay offensive line. We've got some young offensive linemen who haven't played a whole lot.
Yep.
Who are very well regarded, including Brett Van Sloten, who played the second half of the bowl game at right tackle in Susevic's place. But defensive line, we need help.
We're missing what
there.
we had.
And
Carl Davis has been a disappointment. How much of it is injury and how much is just that he hasn't developed? It's hard to tell. He's certainly been hurt.
back in, you get a couple of those guys hurt.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have DeBona back.
Kirksey.
I confess to being disappointed that AJ didn't get on the field at linebacker in the bowl game. I mean, they had a month to get him ready to play, and he played on kickoff and kickoff receiving teams the way he had been.
Christian Kirksey looks good.
He really
Yes.
does.
And
Hitchens,
Anthony Hitchens, thank you.
James Morris, they're all sophomores. They'll all be juniors next year.
Yep, they paid some dues, and we'll see how that all turns out next year. But,
Dakota Getz should be back.
yeah, that's another big one.
Jim Pogge is still here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's depth at linebacker. Darian Cooper on the defensive line is reputed to be a talent.
We'll
And
find
I
out.
would expect him to get some time next year. But we don't have many other experienced people coming back. Dominic Alvis, if the knee heals. Steve Bigack will be a senior next year. Joe Gaglione, I think, will be a senior next year. None of them are terribly experienced.
We're going to need them all. We're going to need them all. And it's going to be a year of change. Like I said, Riley Reith just announced last night that he is indeed going to, no surprise, the starting left tackle, following in the footsteps of, drawing a blank on
Brian
Bulaga, who's been with the Green Bay Packers and already has a Super Bowl ring, to his credit. Riley Reith is a good one, and some say maybe even a little more talented than Brian
His
Bulaga.
Super Bowl ring and $30 or $40 million, guaranteed.
Yeah,
Who's that?
Brian Bulaga.
Oh,
Yeah.
I saw these mock drafts this morning. This is Wednesday the 4th, that had Reef listed as the 10th player picked in the draft, going to the Buffalo Bills. I've heard a couple other people project him as a top 10 pick. That's pretty high.
It sure is.
And I think under the new bargaining agreement still brings him a pretty good sized contract, although I think their rookie contracts are not as big this year as they have been in the past.
That's what they. Yep.
how about the Stanford quarterback?
Andrew Luck.
Yeah, do you think he'll get a pretty good?
He'll be the first pick.
Well, I think the Colts will take him. They have Colts have the first pick. The interesting thing will be whether they keep or send Peyton Manning someplace else. The Colts owe Peyton something like $25 million this spring, which is part of the longevity payment that his close to $100 million contract called for. And now that they've fired their president, you just wonder whether they're going to spend that kind of money to keep Peyton when they know they're going to get the number one pick, whether they can really afford both of them.
That's right.
Peyton's now 36 or 37.
With serious neck.
Well, nobody knows whether he'll. I mean, that's when you look at handing him a check for 25, 26, 27 million dollars, and you have no idea whether he can even run again.
Yeah.
He hasn't worked out since the
If
last
he doesn't
surgery.
pass the medical, would they still have to pay him money?
Well, if they keep him, I think they do. Yeah, I think he's. As I understand his contract, it's all guaranteed unless they send him someplace else. And this is way beyond speculation. But I could see him playing quarterback for the New York Jets next year if he can play.
Well, they about had their fill of Garcia.
I would think Sanchez.
Or Sanchez. Garcia was San Francisco. Sanchez.
He just
New York.
hasn't produced what they expected he was going to produce.
No.
He would appear at this point to not be what is typically called a franchise quarterback. And there aren't very many of them. There are maybe 6 or 8.
How is the running back for them?
Sean Green.
Yeah. How is he?
He had a fair year.
Yeah, fair.
Wasn't great,
Yeah.
but
But the
better
team
than last
wasn't
year.
great either.
Well, the team was not good at all.
No, they missed out on the playoffs.
I think he got about 8 touchdowns, didn't he? Or,
I'm not sure
I don't
of
know.
that. He was averaging about 50, 60, 70 yards a game.
He was fairly healthy this year. I think he did miss 1 or 2 games, but that's about it. He'll be back. He'll be back. One of the issues that the Colts are going to have is also, and a lot of teams have this in the NFL, salary cap. They can't just trade a player or cut a player and be rid of his salary. I think there are going to be some repercussions if the Colts try to trade Manning. We'll see.
Well, one of the things that's happened in baseball is when a player is traded or moved like that, oftentimes, if had a big contract, the team that's moving the player agrees to continue to pay part of the contract. For example, I think the White Sox were still paying some of Manny Ramirez's salary when he got suspended the second time. And that took him off the hook.
Yeah.
But I think that happens a lot, that somebody signs a big contract and then the team
One thing
says,
I don't understand is salaries.
In the salary caps.
And
I
all
don't
the
either.
things that go with it.
well, and we haven't seen how this new collective bargaining agreement affects that or is going to play out in that regard. But clearly, one of the things they've said is the goal was to cut the rookie salaries back and try to get more of the money to some veteran players.
I know the Rams, who have the second pick in the NFL draft, are kind of stuck with Sam Bradford, the Oklahoma quarterback, who had here not so good. He kind of went backwards, got injured. They literally can't trade him, even though they have the second pick and would maybe like to take the Heisman Trophy winner, Robert Griffin III. They can't trade Bradford because of the hit they would take due to the salary cap. He makes so much money that they can't just get rid of that money by trading him. They're still responsible. There's still a commitment they have to the cap because of him.
Just think of the money bill.
Oh.
That
They owe him $70 million.
billions of dollars,
Yeah, it is.
billions.
Oh, it's a lot of money. And it's obscene.
They must have money coming out their ears.
Yeah.
Some of the,
Well,
TV money is
that's
the
what
big
the
thing.
Players Association claimed.
That's right.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't either.
Well, the
TV
big
revenues just keep
the
going
big
up.
thing is TV money. Look at all the college football bowl games we had and are still having, and how few of them were on a broadcast TV affiliate. All the major bowl games are on ESPN, and they're spread out.
Well, one last night wasn't on
Yeah, it was.
ESPN3 or ESPN.
No.
You.
No, it was on ESPN.
Yeah,
Well, wait, there was one game.
yeah. Michigan State and Virginia Tech, or Michigan and
the,
Virginia Tech.
One of the games that we were going to be in.
Penn State, I think it was.
Yeah.
Penn State
Was
was
on
on
ESPN.
ESPN.
Yeah.
Was that the
I don't
Ticket
have that
City
station.
Bowl?
I don't
No.
do that station, but
I think that was the Ticket City Bowl. And yeah, but it's all because of money. It doesn't. They don't care.
It was a
anymore.
bid.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
NCAA went out to bid, and they gave that to ESPN because they offered the most money for
That's
the
right.
bowl package.
Which X's out half of the population who
Well,
don't have cable or
As long as
satellite.
I can remember, ABC had the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
Didn't this year.
No. And they didn't have it last year either.
Yeah, I guess that's
No,
right.
that was the first year of it. And I think on Bowl Day, which this year was January 2nd, there were 2 games on broadcast TV. Now I take it back. Who had the Rose Bowl?
This year?
Yeah, it was ESPN.
Yeah.
There was a game on ABC this year, the game
Yeah.
before the Rose Bowl.
In fact, there were 3 games running at once at one point on New Year's Day. CBS
Yes,
had
that's
one,
right.
ABC one, and ESPN had one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't tell you who they were. Speaking of the Rose Bowl,
Yes.
how in the heck can you be a fifth-year senior quarterback and a good veteran coach and not know that the clock starts at the end of the game when the referee signals that it's ready for play? The referee's behind the quarterback, so he can't see the signal.
Yep.
How could you possibly spike the ball with 2 seconds left?
I watched
Now,
that unfold. Thought there's no way they can do it.
No,
And there wasn't.
because he didn't even see when the referee wound his arm.
No, he lines up in the backfield behind the quarterback.
He
No,
played-
was off the side of
yeah.
Well, he played like he assumed the clock started with the snap, and it
Yeah.
doesn't. It hasn't for about 3 or 4 years.
He wasn't directly behind it.
I'm telling you, Wisconsin fans are livid. They're livid with that. and they're livid with only having one timeout down the stretch,
I mean,
too.
that one was arguable, but
But,
I can understand that. That's
They're upset.
well, they should be. And now, the 22-yard pass, maybe he's certainly got a chance for it.
He did a heck of a job. The Wisconsin quarterback did a great job
Yes,
of
he
getting
did.
that team downfield with so little time on
Yes,
the
he
clock. It was amazing. And I really felt he had one more in him, one more pass play. But why he thought and why Brett Bielema thought they could get that snap off, kill it.
And they had time because he had just completed a long pass, so they're
Yes.
running down fast.
And there was an injury,
But
too.
a coach has time to remind him the clock starts and
And the
use
announcers even said,
all up play or whatever their play is called.
I think he's going to spike it. And as an announcer said that, I'm thinking the same thing. And I thought, no way, you can't
No.
get it off. And they didn't. And that was it. That's just a horrible, horrible way to end a game. A big game.
Well, a second
Oh.
straight loss in the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, and that's okay with
You
me.
think we were disappointed? think what we'd be talking about if that was us.
Forgive me. I've said it. I've admitted it on this show every year lately. But it didn't hurt my feelings to see Wisconsin lose their second Rose Bowl in a row.
You realize, of course, your favorite Big Ten team helped
Yeah.
the Big Ten's reputation
Illinois.
alive.
All right, Illini. Way to that banner high. Another terrible bowl game. That was, I don't know if you tried to watch that, but
I did
Illinois
that a
and
little- I
UCLA.
did a little bit.
Geez, it was like watching paint dry.
Yes.
Nobody could score.
yeah.
But hey, they won, and Michigan won last night. I found myself pulling for Michigan.
Oh yeah, I'm always for the Big Ten.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
know.
that way.
I've got a couple of friends who don't feel that way. I've got a friend who's a Michigan fan who just hates the Spartans.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't talked to him since.
That's one team I absolutely did not want to see win their bowl game. And they did. And they didn't look real good doing it, but neither did the other team.
But you know, they didn't mention Iowa at all, hardly. That they were one team that beat Michigan was Iowa, and I think that was by design.
Well, Michigan earned it.
Well,
They didn't last night.
No, they had some real good fortune last night.
They
With
sure did.
oh yes,
The missed
oh
field goal
yes.
in overtime, the fumble on the kickoff, the fake punt, which was bizarre.
Sure. I don't. Okay. Now, do you
Even
think
the coach thought it was bizarre.
not punt, but field goal, fake field goal, right? Near the
Yeah,
end of the game.
yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't think that was a planned play.
I couldn't tell.
Did you notice
I thought he was going. Are you talking?
the fake field goal that they almost blew, and then
Okay.
the center caught the deflected pass, and they
Oh,
still only ended
I'm
up with
thinking
it.
of it.
I was thinking that.
I'm thinking of Virginia Tech in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's-
okay, I know what you're talking about now, Pat.
I'm thinking. What
I thought Virginia Tech got a bad deal on that touchdown pass in overtime. I thought that was a
That was
great
close.
catch.
Oh, that was close.
I did not see the ground
Well,
help him.
I thought the ball
Catch the
moved
ball.
a little bit.
I did too.
I'm thinking I give that to him.
I don't know. Ball moving, is that what controls? I think what they decided is when he landed, he was touching the boundary line.
Ah,
And so when you come down
Yeah.
out of bounds, it's
it's no good.
incomplete.
well,
But he made a heck of an attempt, and
Oh, but-
it would have changed the game.
God, that was a
of course.
beautiful catch.
Yeah.
And he landed on his belly and knocked the wind out of him. And I thought, give that kid an A for effort. That was a Ed Hinkle type post.
Frank Beamer is now the only coach in college football with a longer tenure than Kirk.
You're kidding.
No?
Is that right?
And Bobby Stoops
Okay.
Yeah,
in Division I
yeah. I'll be darned.
with Joe Pa gone.
But doesn't that says an awful lot about?
Beamer's
College
been there
coaching.
25 years, something like that.
He wasn't too happy last night.
He wasn't. But that also illustrates the business of those jobs, and
Pressure.
is one of the reasons why I suspect why Kirk stays. I mean, Kirk has always said that maybe when he gets to be in his early 60s, he'll take a shot at the NFL. He's
Kids will be out
5
of
years
college
away
by
from
then.
that. Mhm.
Yeah. More power to him. That's what I say. And more power to the Hawkeye basketball team. How's that for a
Oh
transition?
my gosh, did that make the new year?
Oh.
Yeah,
They played great,
they did.
every
yes.
one of them.
To
Well,
wake
maybe
so
except
blue.
They got what's that, 4 points.
Except for
and
who?
Andrew Browmer.
Oh,
Of course,
yeah.
he wasn't in very long.
He was in for 2 minutes, 2 fouls, 1 turnover, and I think that's it. That was all he had in the stats.
At
2
least he
minutes, 2
didn't have to shoot a
fouls.
free
But you know they
No kidding.
then Wisconsin I think got within 4 points, and then the Hawks just made a couple of.
Well, you know, at the start of the second half, it was 31-31 at halftime,
Yes.
and Wisconsin
They'd gone
had
on a
like 7
17-2
straight
run.
points. They were up 31,
Yeah,
and Aaron White comes down and nails a three.
He scores 7 on his
Yeah.
by himself.
Yeah, yeah, he looked very good,
And he is only going to get better.
yeah, that's
didn't
right.
he?
He's going to fill out. He's got the frame.
But he's so intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
I love it that we have him for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I really like the way he carries himself on the court. He never gets too high, never gets too low. He doesn't seem to get rattled.
Well, he's
The-
all over the court.
How about the missed shot, the 7th point in flurry of his in the second half? He drives a lane, goes up in the air to put up a shot, and then gets a defender in a position where he's not going to make that shot. So I don't know if you noticed what he did, but he hit the backboard with his shot, knowing full well it wasn't going in, and got in position on the other side of the rim to get the rebound and put it up and score. I'm telling you, there aren't a lot of college kids that have that court sense. It just came natural to him, and I love watching that.
He's a great free throw shooter.
And
Yes.
very dependable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a guard came in.
Bryce Cartwright,
Yeah,
God bless him. I love him.
He had a great game.
I guess he's not going to start.
No, Fran is going to stick with the same starting lineup, but we'll see.
I think Fran's concerned that he's only got 2 point guards.
Well, when you get down to Brandon Stubbs,
Well,
you're a nice kid.
yeah. I don't think
You're
Fran wants
probably in
both
trouble.
Marble out there with Cartwright starting because of foul trouble.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Now, if Cartwright plays like he did against Wisconsin, he's a better point guard. I think Devin Marble has had a great year. I think he's a very good ball player. And
He's a
gonna
good
get
offensive
better.
ball
But
player.
as a point guard, he reminds me a little bit of Jake Kelly.
Yeah.
Jake Kelly was a player,
Good. Yeah.
but he was not a real good point guard in my opinion. In this regard, the point guard's first responsibility is to run the offense, distribute the ball, put your teammates in a position to score, and win the game.
Correct.
Jake Kelly was a great one-on-one player. He'd take the ball and stand out front, and he'd be off, and
Break down his defender.
he could score.
Yep.
But the rest of his teammates were just standing around watching. Devin, point in his career, is a little bit Jake Kelly-ish out front, although he's got that terrific pull-up drop shot.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to?
Jake went to Evansville, right?
Yeah.
Or was it Indiana State?
Indiana State.
Indiana State, and he graduated last year. He had a
did
nice
all
little
right over
career. Yeah, he had a major injury his first year away from Iowa.
Yeah.
Blew out his knee, recovered from that, and had a good senior year. And they had a nice little run.
Played over there with Jamie Prentice's brother,
That's right. And was coached by former Hawkeye coach
Greg Lansing,
Greg Lansing. Yeah.
who's, again, having a pretty good year over there.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
I think Greg will be a candidate one of these days to move up to a different level.
Yeah, he's earned it. Well, the Hawkeyes earned that victory with improved defense, but there's still a lot of improvement that can be accomplished on defense.
And we played them with Wisconsin over there.
First win at Wisconsin since 2000. First
That's a
road
difficult
win
place to
against a
play.
ranked team since 2006. It's a signature victory for Coach McCaffrey.
I think Earl was with me last year at the arena when they beat us in
Oh
overtime.
yes, I was.
Cartwright missed that 10 or
Yeah.
10 or 12 footer at the
I
end
thought it was
that
in.
would have won the game right in front of us.
Yeah. He missed it at the end of regulation, which would have won it.
Right.
And then he missed it in overtime, either won it or tied it. He had the look he wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we play like that, we're going to have a lot better season than it looked like we were headed for a month ago when we were losing to Campbell and Clemson, and
Creighton.
Basabe wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. Basabe had a better game, but he almost gave it away.
Oh my goodness.
He certainly changed the momentum with 3 minutes left and a 13-point lead or 11-point lead.
The circle, he didn't know what to do with himself.
I felt really bad for him because after building, I think it was an 11-point lead, Wisconsin got a shot underneath where Basabe fouled the shooter. He missed the shot. But after the foul, he inexplicably shoved him.
Well, I don't think it was entirely inexplicably, in that it looked to me like, and I think Fran verified this after the game, the Wisconsin guy was jawing at him after the foul. And Basabe reacted by giving him an elbow to the forearm, I guess it was, to the chest.
It wasn't malicious. It was just get out of my space. Yeah. I didn't realize the kid was jawing at him.
And Fran had said, in describing, somebody asked him about the play, he said his instructions to Basabe in the huddle, or to the whole team in the huddle, foul hard when you foul, because we don't want a basket and one.
Yep.
Send him to the line. If you have to foul him hard, which apparently the guy took offense to. Wisconsin guy took offense.
He fouled him hard. He made sure he didn't make that shot.
Right.
He fouled him with two hands. He came down on him. But that's how many times have you seen a Hawkeye player not foul hard? The shot goes in. Not just Hawkeye players, anybody. That's what you're supposed to do.
Well, aside from a great win, so think that's a sign of a great coach who, after it's over, and fans and reporters will have a tendency to say, Basabe almost cost us the game, to step up and say, well, I'd instructed him to foul hard. So he was doing exactly what I told him to do, and I didn't tell him to push the guy in the chest, but
in front of the
what
official.
precipitated it was exactly what we told him to do.
And the players responded with 3 minutes to go. You could feel the momentum swing. That was a 6-point swing, wasn't it?
Yes.
So it went from an 11-point game to a 5-point lead.
The crowd is going wild.
Oh, yeah.
17,000 of them. Well, I suppose there were 50 Iowa fans there.
Yeah.
If that. It was just...
Mike Gaines was there.
we saw Mike and
all
Megan.
well dressed.
Yeah, they were sitting right behind the bench. His daughter Megan was right there. And I saw Julie as well.
You know, they go to all the
Yes, they do.
Another parent couple that does the same thing are Kelly Cry's parents.
Do they go to away games?
They go to every one.
God bless them.
And Brian, as
He's
you
been
guys
through a little
know,
bit.
Iowa City police officer, and it's hard to manage that schedule.
I wondered how he does that.
It's very tough.
He must have friends, co-workers on the
shifts.
force who take his shifts. Yep. And he ends up working some overnights and such to compensate.
Let's talk about the women.
Okay, well, finish up on the men real quick. They have a game tonight. As soon as Sports Opinion is over tonight, they are at Minnesota at 8 p.m. on the Big Ten Network, or you can listen on KXIC. One thing I want to mention, Brent Balbanot filled in for Gary Dolphin for the men for two games.
I told Brent he started a streak, and we ought to go to Dolph and say, I'm sorry, you're going to sit out for a while. We're going to keep the same lineup while we're winning.
Brent did a great job, and he's received a lot of compliments on that Wisconsin game. So Wednesday night, tonight, as soon as Sports Opinion, this program is over, you can catch the Minnesota-Iowa game in Minneapolis on the Big Ten Network. And then they have a home game on Saturday when Ohio State comes to town. I hope I've got that date right. Saturday at 2 p.m., again on the Big Ten Network. That's at Carver Hawkeye Arena. That'll be a humdinger of a game. So now, women, and here's something I didn't realize until I was putting my notes and script together. The men and the women basketball teams have identical records right now of 9-6 and 1-1 in conference. Just like the men's game on Saturday morning, I know that a lot of people didn't realize the men or the women were playing games this week. The women played on Monday, which was the official holiday for New Year's Day, even though it was February 2nd. And thanks to the Big Ten Network, they played Monday morning at 11 a.m. at Ohio State.
It was an odd time. And I heard a couple of times it said that the game time was moved to 11 in the morning our time because of the Ohio State-Florida football game. And I didn't understand that at all because that football game started at noon our time. So there was still overlap.
Yeah. What's the difference?
I couldn't understand it.
Well, the women's game started out an awful lot like the men. Built a 15-point lead in the first half on the road at a ranked school. Ohio State is ranked number 12. They're undefeated, 15-0, and 2-0 in the conference. The Wisconsin men's team was ranked number 10, I think. Mm-hmm. And then, doggone it, Ohio State came back at the end of the first half, and they took control in the second half.
The last 5 minutes of that first half just changed the game. We went from a 15-point lead to halftime lead of 1, and you didn't feel optimistic. Ohio State's guards, Samantha Perhalis, the player we all love to hate.
Yep.
She's got a little more control of her game
noticed that
this year. At least she played like it Saturday, and she's terrific.
What'd you think of having Samantha Logic take on Samantha Perhalis?
Well, it was a logical thing to do, given that Logic is now playing point guard. That's a switch that Lisa made 3 to 4 weeks ago. Samantha Logic had been playing the off guard position, and she switched Logic and Camille Wallin, who had been our point guard.
Right.
So Logic is now the point guard, and Wallin is now the off guard. Logic is much stronger.
Yes, she is.
And one of the things that I've said is that our start has not been as good as we had hoped it would be. But I've said, we still miss
Kasheen?
Cash.
Yep, we don't have a go-to gal.
The 4 starters returning are all used to letting her go after the rebounds, and I think they're still waiting too often, but we're starting to get the hang of it. And Logic is now our leading rebounder.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's averaging almost 9 rebounds a game. Now, part of that is, I suspect, because Morgan Johnson's playing time has been a little down because of her knee problems. She has the lowest amount of playing time of anybody in the starting lineup, but Logic is a player. I mean,
she's tough.
She's not a great shooter from the outside, but my gosh, she hustles. And part of this sounds critical. I think it's just factual. She missed some shots in close that she should have made.
Yes.
Turned the ball over more often than she would. I mean, the effect of the switch of Logic and Wallin had been Wallin was scoring more than she had been as the point. Logic was more involved in the game. It just didn't work as well Monday against Ohio State as it's been working.
Do you think that Coach Booner substitutes in 2 and 3 at a time? That bothers me.
She's with the Northwestern game, which we won by 30 points, which was really a huge win.
It was a great
Northwestern
victory.
Had got into the rankings. They were looking awfully good.
And they're a lot bigger than Iowa.
And Lisa tightened down her rotation. There weren't as many people playing. There weren't as many people playing as many minutes, and her starters were playing more. And now, of course, we've got some problems. Morgan is still fighting the tendonitis in her knees, and Morgan Johnson this year, I think, is one of the most courageous things I've seen on the basketball court.
100%.
She's in pain virtually the whole time she's out there. Yet, she's averaging 15 points a game and getting rebounds, doing very well.
She is so tough. She fights through it. And if there's a leader on this team, it's Morgan.
And she's a terrific kid. I mean, she's a pre-med major.
Is she really?
Sure. Absolutely. Her career goal was to be a pediatrician.
I saw her on the street the other day. She waved to me. I felt really important. She seems like a sweetheart, just a natural sweetheart.
She's a good kid. And Kelly Cries, honor student, engineering major. She's also tinkering with pre-med as a major.
Not a real vocal court leader.
No.
At all.
But she's got our best 3-point percentage so
Does
far.
she?
That she does. She hadn't taken as many as Prenti or Wallin, but she's got the best percentage. She's making, I think it's almost 43% of her 3-point shots. She's
Wow.
a terrific shooter.
Yeah,
Wow.
but pretty. She's a shooter. You know.
You know, she is, and she's,
She's a gunner.
you know, she was over 1,000 points as a sophomore last year.
Nobody's done that at that age, have they?
Nobody ever has.
No.
She made All Big Ten as a sophomore. Nobody had ever done that. She had a decidedly mediocre game at Ohio State. She was 3 for 17. We just went cold.
Yep.
Yeah.
Suddenly, with 5 minutes left in the first half, and for the first 10 minutes of the second half, we couldn't buy a basket.
Nothing.
And Ohio State blew by us.
Yeah.
They just don't have that go-to gal like we did with Kashin.
Well, Prenti can do it, and Wallin most of the time can. Prenti just had a really off.
But with somebody like a point guard or a shooting guard like Prenti or Wallin, you're either on or you're not. And neither of them were on. Whereas with Cash or a go-to
Yeah.
player, if they're not on from three-point land, they'll drive into the paint and either score or dish.
Cash would get a lot of her points off of her rebound.
And, yeah.
She'd get the rebound and go right with it. So far, we don't have anybody who's really able to do that.
How
very
about
well.
the Johnson girl?
Well, she suffered, it's very strange, Earl, that she suffered a concussion in practice. And reportedly, she had a concussion or two back at City High. I mean, I wasn't aware of that. But the protocol these days for concussions are a lot more detailed. And she hasn't even been able to practice since she had the concussion. So she's missed about 2 weeks of practice. In fact,
At least.
her coming back from concussion regimen wouldn't even allow her in the arena. Specifically, where they didn't want her was out on the court with the bright lights. And so they wouldn't even let her come to the games. She was on the court
She was
once
there
or
for
twice,
Northwestern.
but left it. She was dressed and on the bench for
Right.
Northwestern. And Lisa reported yesterday at her press, the protocol includes you have to pass whatever tests they have 5 days in a row.
Five.
And yesterday was her third.
Yeah.
So she may be able to dress for the Illinois game Thursday night if she passes today and Thursday. We'll see.
See,
She hadn't been logging a lot of time anyway. Because of the issues with Morgan Johnson's knees, they had moved her from the power forward position to 5 as a backup to Beth Doolittle. And she hadn't been getting a lot of time as the number 3 center. We'll see what
how tall is she?
She's, I
6'2"?
think, 6'2".
Yeah.
She's a terrific athlete. And
Yes.
it
I
was
thought so when she
Western
was at City High.
Illinois. They put her in. She played the last 5, 6, 7 minutes of the game, and she had like 8 points, 4 block shots,
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
She's got so much
Yeah.
ability. She's going to be terrific.
She will.
And now Melissa Dixon has a knee injury that she suffered very early in the Ohio State game. As we're here today, midday on Wednesday, we haven't yet heard. She had an MRI done on her knee, and as of yesterday, we hadn't heard the results of that. Lisa seemed yesterday at her press conference to be hoping. The best news was it was a torn meniscus, which would have her out about 2 weeks. But if it's an ACL, her season could be over, and I expect we'll know by today sometime.
Well, Melissa Dixon is a really important role player off the bench. Good defender, good shooter. I think she's got her highest average yet of her career.
Yeah.
They're going to miss her.
She was playing both on offense, and she'd become a force on defense. She's a great shooter. Here's an Iowa trivia question. Her hometown of Johnsburg, Illinois, is also the hometown for one of our football stars,
Fedorowicz.
C.J. Fedorowicz.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Ray Hamilton, who's tight end on the football team, has the same high school and is a good
Aaron
friend of
White.
Aaron White's.
That's right.
Yeah, he didn't make the trip, did he?
Who?
Ray Hamilton. He was there, but he's hurt.
He got hurt. He hurt his knee.
He wasn't in pads.
Right.
He was on the sideline, but he didn't have his pads on.
And he's got a bright future at tight end for Iowa, as does C.J. Fedorowicz.
Well, he came on the second half of the year.
He came on when we needed him.
You know, there was a point in the year, I don't know if I'm right about this or not. It was probably the first Big Ten home game. Was that Indiana?
For football,
Penn State.
They put Fedorowicz in on the kickoff coverage team.
remember that.
And I'm thinking, what's going on here? And he went down and whacked a couple people. And that was a turning point in his season.
6'7", 280
He-
pounds.
I think he discovered that, it can be fun kicking other people around. He started to block some folks.
We need that. We need that. And we need the Hawkeyes women's basketball team to come up big tomorrow night. Thursday night, they have a home game with Illinois featuring former Hawkeye Jolette Law as head coach, former Harlem Globetrotter, too.
Yeah.
I just love her, always have.
Yeah.
And I know she's having a rough go of it there at Illinois.
Yeah, she's had a hard time.
What's their record?
Their record
It ain't
is
good. 6-9 and 0-2 in the
they
conference.
lost a tough one the other day. They're playing right after us on Monday. Purdue sank a 3-pointer at the buzzer
Is that
to beat them in Champaign.
I feel bad for her. I want her teams to do well. They've got a very good power forward center whose name escapes me, but it's going to be
Charisma.
good. Yeah, charisma. There we go.
How would you like to go through life named Charisma?
I don't
It's
know.
spelled with a K. by the way.
Try going through life with a name like Dirk sometime. It's not easy.
How about Iowa?
Iowa, I think I could live with Iowa, but Dirk.
Now,
that's
this won't
tough.
help people who see this show on Sunday night, but Thursday is Dollar Dog Night
Yes.
at the women's game.
Yes, and if you wear black, right?
No, it's a white. If you somehow on Facebook and Twitter, you have the opportunity for a free ticket.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they work, but that's as much information as I can give.
Get out to the women's game. You got nothing better to do. It's 7 o'clock on Thursday night. The game is not on the Big Ten Network. It is on the Mediacom Connections cable channel 22. As always, KXAC will have the game. A minute to go, believe it or not. The wrestlers did well and won the Midland Championship. They have Okie State in town Saturday night, 7 o'clock. It's going to be a sellout. If you haven't got tickets, get them. Pat's going to be back with us next week. We hope to have University track coach Larry Wazorek here next week as well. On behalf of Pat White and Earl Murphy, and as always, Joe Murphy, behind the camera, I want to thank you for watching Sports Opinion every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Every Sunday night at 6 o'clock it repeats on Channel 18. If you can't catch the show there, it's on my Facebook page every week. And I just want to remind you of one thing. Either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks. Thanks for watching.